This is my bone stock 2011 Infiniti G37 Coupe that just rolled over 100,000 miles. It's a salvage title car that's a little rough around the edges, but the 6-speed VQ37 VHR makes it a perfect candidate for a drift car. I've already tossed on a set of 18 by 9.5 drift spares that I had laying around with a 235/40 tire up front and two 65/35 tires in the rear. And here's the stack of parts we're going to throw at this thing in hopes of making it the perfect daily/drift car. We've got a custom set of BC Racing coilovers, ISR adjustable control arms, bunch of new bushings, a Gktech angle kit, oil coolers, a bucket seat and a Nardi wheel, and then an oil change and diff fluid. Once we got this thing dialed in, we're gonna hit the track and see if it was all worth it. So let's get to work. All right, we got this thing up off the ground with the wheels pulled off, all ready to go. I think we're gonna work back to front. First up, I need to remove the exhaust, and this is one other thing I did. It had a really janky, awful sounding cat deleted. If you've ever heard a straight pipe Z or G, they're awful. So that's what this thing sounded like. So I just installed new cats, a Y pipe, the factory Y pipe. Y pipe back is just scrap and a mix of stuff, but it looks pretty good and it doesn't sound too awful. So I'm gonna get this taken off and out of the way, and then we can get started working on the rear subframe here. And here's my homemade exhaust, which, you know, actually works really well. We've just got the OEM flange there, a little bit of 2.5, a little 2.5 to 3-inch resonator, tried to use as many of the factory hangers as possible, a ton of 3-inch, and then this is just a fart can that came off of the S14. But yeah, it works pretty good. So now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look and see what we're working with under here. So right away you can see this, if you know anything about G's and Z's, these are like gel filled diff bushings or whatever, and you can see a little bit of cracking and stuff on it, and then it like leaks out all the fluid, leaves these little marks on the diff cover, but no worries, we got all new bushings and stuff for that. So one of the most important things on a drift car is a locking differential, be it a two-way or a welded. We're cheap, so we're gonna go with the welded. I got a welder, so I'm gonna do it myself. So first thing, let's get this diff out of here and weld it. All right, here's our factory viscous LSD. You can see the gear sets through these little holes. There's 4 of them in the center section of this diff. So yeah, we're just gonna booger a bunch of welds down in there, lock this puppy up so we can do some burnouts. All right, there's the general gist. Kind of just blast some weld on this side, and I need to fill this in a little bit more, but I ran out of wire and I put my big spool on and I'm missing the little thing that tightens this down, so I had to order a new one. So welding the diff was put on hold, but there's plenty of other stuff we can do in the meantime, such as cutting this bushing out, pulling all these arms off, getting the old shocks off. Also, I have slip-in subframe collars, so I'm gonna crack these loose, lower the whole subframe down. Once I get all the arms and stuff and get all the weight and stuff off of it, I'll lower that down, drop in these little collars, so the subframe's nice and solid, diff will be nice and solid, and with a nice set of BC coils, this thing will be ready to rock. So yeah, I'm gonna show you how I like to get these little things out of here. You gotta get all this rubber out. You can burn this stuff out, but obviously I'm not trying to start a fire underneath this car. So what I'm gonna end up doing is drilling a bunch of little holes around this and then running a drill bit around, popping this out, little sawzall blade, cut this outer jacket, pop that thing out of there, and then slip in the solid bushing. The only other bushings are these front diff bushings here, which these will just press out, and I'll just slip in solid aluminum bits there. That ain't good. Well, I broke a drill bit, but I got her out. Now you can just see it's the outer steel jacket. I'm just gonna take a Sawzall and cut a little relief cut in this thing, and this thing should just hammer right out. Boom. Got it all out of there. Looks good. I'll just clean this up with a wire wheel. I've got the bushings in the freezer, so I'm gonna let them sit in there a little while before I can go trying to hammer those in there. But yeah, now we can start taking off suspension arms, shocks, get these springs and stuff out of here, and keep rocking with this rear subframe. All right, here's all the rear suspension taken out here. The coilovers we're putting on delete the bucket and the spring and stuff, makes it all like a true coilover in the rear. Getting rid of a whole bunch of stuff on the back of this and cleaning it all up. Okay, I got all the brackets and stuff off of here that's holding the subframe on. So you can really see the bushings and stuff now, which we're leaving these OEM bushings in, but we're gonna be installing these Z1 subframe collars. So I'm following Z1's instruction guide or whatever. So there's 4 total, 2 front, 2 rear bushings. Looks like the ones labeled E just slip onto the top side of the bushing. There is no lower part to the front bushing. And then the back bushing, this slips up from the bottom, and then this slides over the top. So get these bad boys tossed in here and their subframe will be done. Still have to tighten everything down and put this rear brace back on, but there's our Z1 bushings installed. Can't really see the front ones because they're all covered up, but yeah, there's the top slipped in, bottom slipped in. I just smoothed a little silicone spray all in there and then used a jack and a big socket to just push this thing up. But yeah, get all this bracing stuff put back on, and then we can move on to control arms and coilovers. All right, now the subframe's buttoned up, we're gonna install the ISR street model rear bucket delete. So this will be our tow arm, and this is a replacement camber arm so we can adjust our camber. I've also got this ISR eccentric lockout kit. Gets rid of those cam bolts, keeps our adjustments locked in the rear. Take these and get these matched to the lengths of the factory arms and get them tossed on the car. Boom, we have armage. Got our bucket delete camber adjustment on both sides. And then I went ahead and wire wheeled that out, cleaned it up. So I think I might go ahead and try to slip that diff bushing in. All right, here's what we got. Got her all sandwiched in there. I'm using this C-clamp, ball joint C-clamp, and then this is a pitman arm thingy off my truck, which worked good to keep us flat on this, and press this bushing all the way in there. Voila, there it is. Came out pretty darn good. I think that'll work just fine. All right, I think that's gonna do it for today. We'll come back at it tomorrow. All right, so I got the part I needed for my welder. So I finished welding the diff and added some fluid to it, just 1.5 quarts. And then I silicone and put the cover and stuff back on. And while that was drying, I just went ahead and moved on up to the front and started pulling the steering rack out of the car. And then the rack and the diff switch places on the vise. So now we have the steering rack up here in the vise, and we can begin cleaning it up a little bit. I looked online trying to find a seal kit. You know, I usually just rebuild these once I pull them out of the car, but I couldn't find a seal kit online. And you can buy these new, but I don't want to spend 250 bucks. I'd rather spend like 20 bucks on a seal kit, rebuild this thing myself. You can just see that it's leaking a little bit of fluid right there. A little bit on this side, not too bad over here. But whatever, we're gonna press on with this one until it gives us, you know, a lot of trouble. So right now I think it's gonna be fine. We've got new bushings to go into it. We're gonna delete this speed sensor thingy from the rack, put new inner tie rods, and then we're gonna install this Gktech angle kit, which is pretty cool. Nice little setup here. We've got the bolt-on deals and the outer tie rod, got some boots, and then the inner sleeve. We just reused the factory inner tie rods, but I did get new ones just so the whole steering is all fresh and new. And then I also got these polyurethane steering rack bushings. These will pop out, these will press in, just to keep the steering nice and tight. And then there's this little fitting deal here. I have to screw this guy out and replace it with that. So I'm gonna get to work refreshing this steering rack. Boom, we have a mildly refreshed steering rack. New inner tie rods. I found these new boots, so I went and had tossed those on there. Little safety wire holding that end part in. We got these old bushings out. New poly bushings are all installed. Our little Gktech speed sensor delete thing is all in there, and it's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to move on to the Gktech angle kick. I'm not going to show you how to do all that. Go to Gktech's website if you want to learn how to do it step by step or whatever. I'm just going to toss all this stuff on here just so we can move on. I do know that we need to unbolt a few things, get this factory strut out of here, bolt a thing to the knuckle, to the lower ball joint, and all that good stuff, and then I got to toss that rack back in here. But yeah, moving right along. All right, I've done a terrible job of filming this, but I got it all done. Front end is fully put back together. We got all the Gktech bits, the rack and stuff is all back in. Still need to do the coilovers, we're saving the best for last. Also got the diff put all back in, axles and drive shaft and everything's all hooked up. Looking mighty fine. I still need to cut the little stopper thingies off here. We're slowly ticking things off the list here. All we really have left is the oil coolers and stuff now, which we're gonna get into that tomorrow. That's it for today. But there it is, man. This thing is starting to come together. Starting to look like a drift car a little bit underneath. Oh yeah, a quick look at the steering angle here. Let's see how it looks. So it's pretty much one turn to lock. This is the trailing wheel, so it doesn't look like a whole bunch there, but you can kind of see how nice all the Gktech stuff looks. Let's check this other side. See how the angle on the lead wheel looks. Mind you, all the suspension's just hanging. This isn't kind of how it's going to be at the end, but that is pretty freaking good, I think. Quite a bit more than what we had. All right, we got Christopher in the garage with us this morning.
What's up, dude?
I'm gonna hand you all off to him. Save the best suspension piece for last. Custom set of BC Racing coilovers. Here's the build sheet. You want to show them that? So I'm told these are the go-tos for G's and Z's if you're doing a custom setup and you're going to drift the car, I guess. So in the front we have, or this is the rear coilover, 6K spring in the rear, and in the front we have, I think it said 14K? Yeah, 14, heavy, thick boy in the front. All the stuff for the brake lines. So yeah, let's get this thing tossed on here.
Those are really, really nice looking.
Right? Sweet extended adjusters for the rears. There's like really difficult access. I don't even know how I'm gonna fish this through here yet. But
oh, to the back ones here?
Yeah, yeah. That's like, I moved the seats out of the way and stuff, you can't even see it. But we'll figure that out. There's no like, like it's like in the S14, you just pop that speaker cover off. And
it's like, it's almost like it'd be back here.
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
All right, well, we're gonna get these bad boys tossed on here. And yeah, move on to the next thing. Oil coolers and stuff.
Thank God there's that piece there.
About lost one?
Yeah, I was thinking the whole time. That's going to be an easy one to draw. Look or no?
At what?
You said there might be in a bag?
No, I didn't see him.
Oh, okay.
All right, next up, now the coilovers are all finished, suspension's done, we're gonna move on to the oil cooler. We have an engine oil cooler, and then I also have this, it says transmission oil cooler, but we're gonna use it for the power steering. I bought this cheap kit, these little bracket deals. Here, let me show you. So we wanna mount our oil cooler on the front core support here, and it's got these little spots that you can put a threaded little thing on. So I bought this. This was like $6 on Amazon. So
Fancy.
yeah, right. It's kind of nice, and it even has bolts.
Yeah.
And so that's what's going to hold the bottom. So we're going to mount the oil cooler in this general vicinity, using these little parts here. Make a little steel bracket for this to kind of sit on. And I got some 90 ANs and some AN line. And then also we have all of our fittings, we have our hose, and then we have this little Mishimoto thermostatic sandwich plate so we can run our AN lines to the cooler. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I tried to get a similarly sized and shaped cooler, just taller than the factory one. So let me show you the factory one now.
Oh yeah, it's a little bigger.
So it's pretty similar, but I want to try to reuse these brackets that hold it.
Yeah.
Somehow, even if it was just like this one, and run the lines up through here, just so we have a little bit bigger of a power steering cooler. I don't know.
Slick.
Hopefully it'll do some good. We'll see. All right, here's what we got going on. We found this old seat rail on my little scrap pile, and we just reamed these holes out a little bit. Popped a few riv nuts into the cooler itself, and just bolted this on here. And we're going to tack this together here. And then on the front here, I found these little brackets from an old intercooler kit that I have. We're literally just building this out of scrap right now. But bolted that on there, we're gonna place that and then weld it to that. And I don't know, dude, I'm pretty proud of this. I think it's a nice little bracket, right?
Turn out good.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gonna turn out real good.
So, all right, we're gonna zap this together, paint it, get this thing mounted, and then we make some lines. Check it out. Look at those dimes.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. That looks great.
It'll hold.
Toss a coat of paint on it. Call that good. I think we can move on to the power steering cooler while the paint dries on that. All right, we got some coolers installed. Power steering's all set up here. Looks pretty good. Good enough for who it's for, mostly. Here's our bracket all welded out, bolted on. Oil cooler looks good. Both coolers look pretty sick, actually. We just need to make the lines now. So we're using that Mishimoto sandwich plate. We got a couple 90s coming out of that. We're gonna run them up along the frame rail, along the way and to the top of the cooler there. So we're gonna get started. That guy and this guy making these lines. Boom. This is one of two. We've already made the first one, but for cheap Amazon fittings,
Looks pretty good.
Not bad for a little homegrown kit, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, zip that on there.
Oh, you need the fitting.
Done. Yeah, I gotta tighten all this stuff up first, but
Yeah.
the lines are just gonna snake under this thing, up into here, out the front, down here. I had to trim up this little plastic piece to channel all this through here, but yeah, pretty freaking good. All right, there it is. All the lines are connected, looking mighty fine. Everything has pretty good ground clearance. Hopefully we don't have any issues with stuff smacking into the coolers and stuff, but I have the technology to make a bash bar, so I might do something like that, like something to protect the front a little more. Here's all of our lines hooked up. I still need to put the oil filter on, but
As long as those sway bar bushings don't give out, you'll be all right.
right? Yeah, I think it'll work pretty good, dude. So Chris took off after all of his help. That was super awesome to have him help me here and knock this stuff out. But before he left, he pulled the driver's seat out of this thing. And I just went through this thing, sprayed it down with a little bit of tough stuff, scrubbed it with a brush, and then hit it with the vacuum. And the floor looks really good. Ready for the seat and the steering wheel to go on. But before we do that, side project, I took the headlights out of this thing. They're super hazy, yellow, look kind of gross. So I'm gonna hit these with some water from the hose, a little 1000 grit sandpaper, and then I'm gonna clear coat these. A little 2K clear, hopefully they shine up a little nice. Look a lot better for the front end of this car. Wow, what a difference. These things look brand new. This Super Max 2K clear stuff in a can with a little activator. I've used this stuff a bunch in the past and it always impresses, man. This looks pretty sweet. How to make the front of this car look a little bit better. All right, so since we got the coolers and everything hooked up on this thing, I believe it's time to start this thing up. I've topped off the power steering and I put 6 quarts of oil in this thing. Let's get it fired up. This is a thermostatic sandwich plate, so it has to get up to operating temperature before the oil cooler and stuff starts flowing. So I'm gonna let this thing sit here and idle for a little bit and see if we get any leaks. levels in the power steering. But I'm not seeing any leaks here. I think we're pretty good. This thing sounds pretty good with that exhaust. It's really not too obnoxious. All right, this thing's been running for a little bit. It's up to operating temperature there, and I don't see any leaks, man. I think our AM lines were a success. I can feel these, and these are warm, so that cooler opened up. Let's see if this thing, same deal. Nothing leaking. Looks freaking great. I love it, man. We're ready to beat on this thing and not really have to worry about it, hopefully. Check it out. I found a bunch of Mexican pesos and some quarters and dimes underneath the seat. I think this whole thing may have been to Mexico. All right, started plugging away on this seat here. This is just a Corbeau. This is the cheapest seat bracket that I could find online. But it's a Corbeau seat bracket, and they supplied these sliders, which I had to modify to fit the NRG seat that I've got. So spaced them out, drilled some new holes for where they mount to the seat bracket, and then I extended the little seat adjuster thing. But it's all finished up, all squared away. Just need to bolt it in the car like that. We're all bolted in, looking pretty good. There's kind of a big gap between the butt and the floor. I don't know, like a couple inches there. The shoulders, you know, I don't know. I think it'll be okay. Hopefully I have enough head clearance. Kind of a long boy, so now that this is all squared away, we're gonna put a new Nardi steering wheel on this bad boy. Okay, got the wheel in, looking pretty good. I bought this little Z1 little bracket that holds the cruise control and the radio control stuff. I wanted to keep all that because I still, like I said, this is a daily driver, so we want to keep all that stuff on the car. But there's two more things that we need to do to the interior. One being the leverage for the handbrake is kind of awkward back here. So let me show you how I make like a quick little extender so you can kind of grab it from up here close to the shifter, and gives you a little bit more leverage. And that's this thing. It's a little trolling motor extension handle that you can buy. I got this on Amazon for like 30 bucks, but you can get them at Academy or kind of any sports supply place. So these things work really, really well for an e-brake extension. But as you can see, it's a little bit too long, you know, hits the dash. We'd really like the handle to be about like right there. So it's super simple. You just drill these rivets out, and then we'll slide this handle down into here a little bit, and you can either cut this little grip down to slip over the end on the inside, or I just bought these little 1-inch table leg like rubber cap thing. These are like, I don't know, a pack of a bunch of these, way more than I even need, for like $5. But this works a little bit better to just kind of slip over the end there. So when you slide this thing over the handle, it'll push and hold the button down for you, so you don't have to worry about it getting stuck up when you pull it. Get this thing modified, slip down in here just so, and then I'll cut it to length, and then I'll just take this handle and put it on again. So, you know, this grip's perfectly fine for me. I don't really care. You can put, Vans makes cool motorcycle grips, all sorts of different kind of motorcycle grips you could slip over this. This is like a standard 1-inch handlebar size, which makes that kind of cool if you want to customize it. But I'm just keeping it simple. So let me get this thing modded and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so I drilled the rivets out of here, and then you can just slide this thing out the end, tossed our little 1-inch rubber cap on there, make sure it's nice and on there real good, and then we can slide the black plastic bit back until it hits the little stopper, about like there. Then we'll just drill some new holes, rivet these. These are just 3/16 rivets, pretty standard stuff. Cut it to length. We'll have a quick little removable, you know, when you're not using it, just a stock car, stock handbrake, but when you want to go drifting, slip this bad boy on there, tighten this down, and then you can start drifting, baby. Voila, there it is. Short little stubby fella. So now I'll show you how easy this thing is to put on. You just slip it right over until you see the button push down, which it'll release itself anyways. And my seat's sort of in the way, so you kind of have to clock this So I'll probably have to run it basically like that, I guess. Cinch this down real quick. And there it is. There's your handbrake. Nice and comfortable, right within reach. It's a little close, like cut your knuckles there, but yeah, pretty sweet. So with these G37s and G35s, 350Zs, 370Zs, they have right here in the center console, somewhere in here, there's a yaw sensor that is like tied to the traction control or something. I've got these little switches here I'm going to wire in there so you can toggle those on and off. This G37 came with factory heated seats, so I think I'm going to try to pop these little dials out of here, and hopefully these little toggle switches I got will fit right in there, so you can just have, you know, one will be yaw, and then I have another one for ABS. So I guess there's like a pink wire or something on the ECU you need to clip, so I'll cut that wire, run it to a switch so you can turn it on and off. So you can keep this thing street if you want, so it's not like a Christmas tree of lights on the dash. But yeah, so that's the last thing to do on the interior here. I'm gonna wire all this crap in, and then we can be done with the interior. And then toss the wheels on this thing, give it a quick eyeball alignment. Oh yeah, I put the front end back together with the headlights. Look at the difference. These headlights look freaking amazing, dude. All right, I'm knee deep in it right now. Got the entire console out of here. It's kind of funny the stuff you find. I got this thing all torn apart. I found 20 pesos. Sort of random. Pretty cool though. But yeah, anyways, I got this deal here. You know, I popped these switches out of here. So now you can see we got some empty holes there where the seat warmers were. And then we got these. But as you can tell, these holes are too big. So I'm gonna try to come up with something else. Let's see. This is probably overkill. I have this little sheet of carbon fiber, and I think I'm just gonna lay it over that, drill smaller holes that these pop right into, and then rivet the little carbon fiber bit onto the top of that. Might look kind of sick. Totally don't need to do this exactly like this, but I don't know, I think it'll look kind of cool in the interior. So I made this little cardboard template, got that on there, marked our centers, trace this all out. So I'm going to drill holes for this first, and then I'll cut this out of here. Sometimes my genius amazes me. I've got this kind of a crappy battery powered jigsaw with a little I don't know, diamond tip or whatever. That's what you use to cut carbon fiber sheet with, but the battery I have wouldn't work, so I just rigged up this little DeWalt setup to it. We in action, baby. So yeah, we got all of the rivet holes cut, the button holes cut, and now we just have to cut this thing out, and then I'll shape it with a flap disc, make it look pretty. But yeah, the lengths we go to make these silly things happen. Is it overkill? Yes. Does it look freaking sick? Also, yes. Look at that thing, dude. Clean. Got our little on-offs here. So, I don't know, I haven't designated each one yet, but one's gonna be basically the stoplight switch, so the ECU doesn't know I'm hitting the brakes, so when I lift foot brake, so I can disable that. And then this will be the yaw sensor, so to truly disengage traction control that. So I need to make like some little labels or something here, or just kind of, you know, either way, when I want to go drifting, just kill both those and you're good to go. But it looks freaking cool, dude. So yeah, all I need to do is I've got to cut and wire in one of those switches to this little yaw sensor here, and then in the kick panel here there's a fuse for the brake light. So there's the pink wire, find the wire on the back of the fuse panel, and then wire in that to the other switch. So we got our party switches. We're gonna jailbreak this G37. Okay, I got the wiring for the yaw sensor all done. That was quick and easy because the sensor's right there. Switches are gonna be right here. But I'm gonna have to run some wires to do the brake light thing, or the brake switch deal. So watched a bunch of videos. I think I've isolated the correct pink wire on the ECU, and just to kind of like chase it to make sure that it's one that goes over here. I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't know what I'm doing. We're gonna probably roll the dice on this, but I'm having trouble finding pinouts, so I'm just gonna try to chase it like this. So this is the fuse box. Here's a little legend here, stop lamp. So we want to kill the signal to the ECU when you hit the brake, because when you left foot brake, it'll kill power to the engine, and we don't want that. So we're gonna splice it into this little pink wire here. So I just pulled out this plug, connected to this little piece of metal here. Got my little continuity tester here. Red one run to the ECU plug. Black one is to this plug in the fuse box that I think goes to the stoplight. she beeping. So, I think that's evidence enough for me to cut that wire over there, run some wiring along to here, so we have a little kill switch. I'm really hoping that this doesn't kill the brake lights. I want the brake lights to still work. So, I don't know, I might double check and try to find that pin out again, but this is probably what we're gonna run with. All right, I've done it. Interior is all back in. Switches look nice and clean. This looks pretty cool, actually. So this will be the brake button, and this is the yaw. That's everything for the interior. Really happy with how this came out. Looks super clean. All right, I think that's gonna be it for today. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to put all the wheels on this thing, give it a quick alignment, and I think that's it, man. We can get this thing on the road. All right, the day has come. We are going to put the wheels on this car, put it back down on the ground. I've kind of given it a little bit of an eyeball alignment. This one looks pretty straight on, and this one looks pretty straight on as well. The back, I don't even have a clue where it's landing. Just looking at it from here, it looks pretty camber, negative camber, and a little bit of toe in, quite a bit of toe in actually. So probably gonna have to do a lot of adjustment in the rear, but I'm gonna start in the front. So I'm gonna get the wheels down, toss them on the car, hit it with some toe plates, get a start going on getting this thing steering and driving straight. Okay, something doesn't look right here. This wheel gap, 3 fingers. I mean, I've still got the front on jack stands. I got this far with the rear, and I mean, I know this thing's gonna settle, but I don't know if it's gonna settle that much. I'd like to see the tire, like, you know, maybe even half, or, you know, I'm not trying to, this is no stance. It's still gonna be a daily car, but gee whiz, that's like factory. So we're not looking for factory. We're looking for lower. So I'm gonna adjust these coilovers real quick, and then we're gonna try this again. All right, we're on the ground. I lowered it a 1/2 inch all the way around, front and rear. And you can see the wheel gap in the back is much better. So this is a daily drifter, so we wanna be able to daily it and not scrape on everything. I think this height ought to get us there pretty good. Now I still need to align this thing, so I'm gonna get started with that. Pretty basic how I do that. I've got this set of toe plates that I'll put on the front and rear. That'll help me square away toe. And for camber, I just hold up the plate to the wheel, and then I use the level on my phone. So let's take a quick look here. So that can't be right. Maybe it is, I don't know. So it looks like it's already at 0 camber. Well, that makes my life easy. Now I can just do toe in the rear. I don't know, man. Maybe when I pull that toe in, the camber will get out of whack, but that's the flow of things. You do caster, camber, and then toe. But yeah, man, this thing looks pretty freaking good. I like that height. I think that's gonna be just right. All right, we've got 73 1/8 in the rear, and then 73 1/2 in the front. That's quite a bit. So I'm gonna adjust each side. I've centered the rack, centered the wheel, so that's all squared away, hopefully. Hopefully just mild adjustments. I can get this thing pointing back straight. Yeah, you can see slightly bit of toe out in the front here. Same deal here. So I'm gonna dial the toe in just a little bit and see if we can get this closer to 0. A couple quick adjustments. We got 73 3/8 in the rear, and 73 5/16. That gives us a 1/16 of toe in the front. And I think for cruising around, that should be good. Usually from here, I'll drive it around in the wheel, whichever direction. You know, if the wheel's not perfectly centered, leaning to the left or the right, I'll add a little toe out to whichever side counteracts the wheel, so it drives straight. Just my own personal preference. I can't handle it when the wheel doesn't point straight. It kind of drives me crazy. So, but that was pretty quick. So we're gonna move on to the rear now and start pulling all this toe in out. You can really see this thing is, which I don't believe that 0 camber thing. We'll get a better reading once we get this toe pulled out of this thing. And for the rear, I try to go for like true 0 toe. So we're gonna crank on this thing and get her going. All right, quick look at the rear here. This is kind of hilarious. 74 inches in the back and 72 1/8 in the front. It's almost 2 inches of toe in. This isn't an FD car, so we're gonna pull all that out of there. All right, I've got the rear toe within a 1/16. So 72 15/16 and 72 7/8. So we're pretty close to one another. Slight bit of toe in the rear for now, but I'm gonna drive it around a little bit, and then we'll dial this in a little more from there. looking pretty good. Heck yeah. Man, the headlights look way better. It looks like a different car. Yeah, it's a little bit lower. It's like a tasteful low. Man, it's a sharp car. It's a bad mamma jamma. Sweet, man, that's it for today. Good looking car back there. Okay, I spent today messing with this car and I think I finally have it dialed in. Sitting pretty, looking good, steering hopefully straight. I drove this thing a little bit last night and the alignment was way off. I hit it with the toe plates and I just counted turns and then used the level on my phone to get the camber out, and it says 0. I know it said 0 when it wasn't 0, but now if you look at the contact patch of the rear tire in the back, pretty straight up and down. It might even be a little bit of positive camber, but that's okay. When the car compresses, hopefully the camber will even out, but we won't know that until we actually drive the car. So yeah, I'm gonna go for a quick test drive in this thing, and let's see if this thing can do its job as a daily driver. Good start. Cruising around. I flipped my switches. The ABS and stuff doesn't like the welded diff, so it kind of acts a little funny at slow speeds. So worked good. Flipped my little yaw sensor and my throttle cut sensor or whatever, so you can see I've got my traction light and my ABS lights on now. But feels good. Driving straight. I like it. This thing feels freaking great, man. These BC coils are riding absolutely perfectly. This thing tracks right, absorbs all the bumps really well. Let's take this turn here. Steering feels pretty good. Front was pushing just a little bit there. I think this Gktech kit would work a lot better if I had the aftermarket, you know, the lower control arm and stuff that comes with that kit. I think it widens the track a little bit. I don't know. We won't really know until we hit the track with this thing, how it really feels with the steering angle kit, with the drifting and stuff. But as far as a daily driver goes, pretty darn good. Sounds pretty good. Not bad for a homemade exhaust. Oh yeah. Good car. I'm gonna take this thing to the gas station, top it off, and then maybe hit the car wash. All right, we made it to the gas station. This thing looks freaking good. Runs good, rides good, drives good. Now we're gonna fuel her up, run this bad boy through the car wash. Looking good. Cleaned up, man. What a rig, dude. All up on that curb. I'm gonna hit this bad boy with the vacuums, get the inside cleaned up a little bit. Loving the interior on this thing. This car came out great, dude. I'm pretty hyped on this thing. Back on the road. Solid car, man. All right, so I think it's proved its case as a street car / daily driver. I think it's gonna do the trick. But we put all this stuff on this car so we can go drifting. So let's take this thing to the track and see how well it drifts. Okay, so the car's proven itself as a daily driver, but now we brought it out to the track and we're gonna see how it does. Let's check it out. So I've got my buttons turned off here, so we should be able to left foot brake. So I'm gonna start things off with a burnout. Let's see how this thing does in a burnout. It's doing it. All right, that went pretty well. So now let's see how it drifts. Let me try that again. Shaky on the start, but we cleaned it up. That wasn't too bad. Let's cut a few more laps. Success. This thing did fantastic. It was a little touch and go there. I had a few flubs there on my entries. It took me a minute to get used to this angle kit. But once I got used to it, man, this thing drives really, really good. It's got a bunch of angle, plenty of power, good car. And I know it's not like super low or anything, but again, this is a daily driver. In my opinion, this is the perfect daily drifter. It took me like an hour to get to the track. That's all highway. The car did really great. Can't complain, cruises along the highway just fine, stays inside its lanes, and then it does the thing with drifting too. I mean, what more could you ask for out of a daily drifter? So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. You know, do that thing, like, comment, subscribe. What do you think of this thing? Would there be a better daily drifter than this car? I don't know, dude. Look at it. Looks freaking good, drives freaking good. Honestly, it sounds pretty good too. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it was a fun watch for you. It was a fun build for me. I enjoyed this thing. I'm gonna keep enjoying this thing. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one.